Hi friends, Christine here. I am wanting to play with a sketch and some photos from our trip in 2019. So it's a while ago, but when we went down the Amalfi Coast and we went on a little tour around the area. So these, I haven't scrapbooked a lot in that album, and I mean, it's hit and miss. I have and I haven't. I still have lots to do, which is convenient when you've got paper collections that you think might work with pictures that you haven't scrapbooked yet. So I am lucky in that way that I'm not up to date, and so I have lots of pictures to scrapbook still. This is our Make It From the Heart Volume 5 edition, and so this is a resource that we have that is sketches that show you a couple different ways to use and incorporate the sketches or to switch them up, reversing patterns, things like that. This book has, I think it's about 30 sketches, 15 of which are 2-page layout sketches, and then there's some single-page layouts, and then there's also near the back some card sketches. So lots of resources in Volume 5. I decided to go with this pattern, mostly because I'm working on the tail end of our Cape Cod. I've created a couple pages for a workshop, and this will be the third. So I just was kind of, there wasn't much multiples of pattern paper and such for me to work with, and that was left in the kit without me diving into mix-ins. So I do have some scratch paper left over, and I'm going to add some mix-ins to it, and maybe we'll do another video with that. But I thought it might be fun to show you where I start and where I end up. I'm not even sure where I'm going to end up yet, but I thought it would be fun for you guys to follow along. So this is the pattern I'm going to use. I have a couple different ideas and inspiration that I've seen with working with clouds and some ink blending. So it's an idea that's in my head that I'm hoping I'll be able to transfer down onto a 2-page layout. And I'm going to loosely use, well, I'm pretty much going to be using this sketch. So in terms of the pieces of paper, I mean, you can't tell, and obviously it's far away, so you won't be able to read these measurements, but this main piece is 2¼ inches, which is obviously quite short. So this would be a great layout for you to potentially work with off this video. I'll try and include some measurements along the way for you just to help you out. But great one for scrapping your stash. So you have leftover bits from a kit, which is kind of what I'm doing. And this is still going to be, I think, impactful because of the embellishments I have left over. But I'm hoping that this is all going to work out. Like I said, it's in my head and it's not down on paper yet. So I am going to clean my space and we will get started. Okay, so the colors in the Cape Cod paper collection, which is new, available July 1st. Some of the colors that are featured in there are Toffee and Glacier, Lagoon, and Periwinkle. So I'm going to try and work with these colors in creating my clouds. And the other thing I did is I went on to Cricut Design Space and looked under images and just kind of typed in cloud borders to see, or cloud border, to see what would come up. And I'm trying to work with that. So I've got a variety of shapes that I cut from the Cricut Design Space. That is one of them. And then what I did is I just kind of flipped it or printed out two. I'm not sure which one. We're going to find out together which one I decide on using. And then I've got this one as well, which is kind of like a stepped cloud. If you can kind of see the tier of it. You can't really see white on white quite as easily. But so I'm not really sure which way I'm going to go with this. I'm going to just see. So I cut those out and I'm going to use these as templates. Now, you can do that too. It's just regular cardstock. You're going to use your Cricut Design Space or other design cutting space that you have. I guess I'm not exactly sure what the name of, like Silhouette or whatever, but there's Cricut is what I'm working with. And I think I'm going to actually, after cutting these, I think I'm going to stick with this shape potentially because I like just how linear it is. It's a little less up and down. And what I'm trying to do with my sketch, if you remember, is I've got these horizontal lines. So I'm going to shift, I think, this component down a little bit and give myself a little more room on top so that I can create some clouds. In my photos, you can't really see maybe, but in my photos, we had it was quite a heat dome when we were there in Italy in 2019. It was just the time of the year. And so we had this low hazy, almost seemed like fog, but it was this heat dome someone explained to us. I'm gonna use my craft mat just to protect my surface a little bit. I don't know where I'm gonna go with all this ink. And I may as well use just some scratch paper. I'm not really sure, like I said, how this is all gonna come together. But the idea is that I'm gonna be working on the upper part of this. So I've got my blending brushes. I'm hoping this is stained and there's no ink on there, but we'll find out soon enough. This is where you guys come along with the ride. I think I'm gonna start with the lighter Lagoon and see. Like I said, you guys are doing this with me, so I'm not really sure how this is gonna play out. I've got my scratch white here that I hope I will be able to stay on. And I'm gonna just see how this all works, right? I'm gonna do it on a little bit of an angle maybe. And so let's just start, right? Go for it. So I don't know if you've done any blending with our brushes, but I just kind of load them up. The trick is often to kind of dab off and to start with a certain amount of pressure. So you can see maybe in the picture here, the video, that I've got, we can see now the line of the cloud. Actually, I might be able to just dab onto this, right? Sometimes when you come in from your pad on your blending tool, and a lot of you are probably already experts with blending, but for myself, I'm not. It's something that I've been working on over the years. I'm not a huge card maker. I'm mostly scrapbooking, so I don't necessarily have as much artwork that I've played with. But the trick is to come in that initial first pounce. If you come in onto the scratch paper, like if you're working with a stencil, for example, this is kind of like a reverse stenciling here. But now it doesn't look like much, and it looks like I've got probably more on the cloud die cut. But if you lift your piece, you'll see that I've got quite a sharp edge there actually, which I like. So I'm going to keep going with that. And I did bring the other colors out, just deciding on whether or not I was going to change up the color or add more color for some more depth, but we are going to see what I decide to do. The nice thing with blending is that you can build a little more depth. It's hard even for myself to see. I don't know about you, but I think I'll just kind of keep it soft here because I do have a harsh edge. Didn't quite cut the full 12. I didn't cut it over a 12 by 24 mat. I kind of cheated and cut it over the other 12 by 12. So you can kind of see I've just kind of softly blended out that edge there. So this is where I would decide on whether or not I wanted to add a little more depth with my Lagoon. So see how much darker that is, huh? Maybe we'll just blend a lot of it off. I don't even know if it will make a difference, but it's definitely, don't want any harsh lines. So that's the whole concept of that pouncing off. Just adds a little bit more depth and dimension. Hopefully that translates. Kind of went here, here, and there. And yeah, you can kind of see a little bit more depth in there. So I'm going to slide this. I think I just want to do, I'm not sure yet, but I think I want to just do too. So I've got it this way. Now I could go like this, but knowing me, I'm a little concerned that this ink's going to end up on there, because if it's going to happen, it will probably happen to me. And then the question is how do you want to do this? You know? Or is this where maybe I do bring in that other, the other shape? And can you go over? I don't even know. You know what? I haven't done this enough to know what I'm doing. So let's just take this on the edge here. Let's just go for it, right? And I guess we'll do the reverse on the other page. Now I could reverse that. This is where the thinking out loud comes in. Maybe I just change the angle of it, right? Good grief. Okay. I'm going to just try that. You know? I'm just going to go for it. So we will see. You could use washi tape or something like that to hold the stencil down, or your cut image edge, but I am risking it all here by just going for it. Doesn't feel like I've got much going on here, so I don't really see that much of a difference. I'm shaking the whole entire video by rubbing this, but you can kind of see actually that shadow in there. This is where I might just keep building on this. You can always build, right? A concept that you can't really take it away, but you could definitely build on it. So I'm going to maybe go a little bit darker into these corners. Let's see. Pull it out into the other clouds up above. And then I think at this point, I'm going to maybe, when I get to this area here, I think I'm going to move this stencil. That's the thought that's going on in my process. Maybe I'll add a little bit more depth to these guys here. The Lagoon ink. See if that made any kind of an impact. Okay. I like it. Now the trick is, I can come in here. Maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll go a little bit more straight across at this point. Move that ink pad out of the way. And kind of go in here a little heavy. Nice thing about these handles is they've got some flex, so you can really increase the pressure. Get an idea of how I like that. So I think I might like that. Might just add a smidge of this Lagoon, add a little bit more of that aqua color. So I just kind of wanted to create this line, because now I'm going to add my layers once I get them figured. And you know what? I can always add more, potentially another line in here if I need to. We will see. I'm going to go ahead off camera and work on the second page, and then we will start with building the layout. Okay, so I've got the second page done, and I kind of tried to, you know, give you the feel that it was continuous. I mean, I definitely could have taken the edge of, you know, one of the stencils and kind of came in hard and connected them, but maybe next time. So you can see by looking at my die cuts how inky they are. But then you can also see how I've got some really nice soft blending going on the background. So that was kind of the look that I was going for, but you can see how even with the Lagoon, I've come in hard there and then gone with the blending. So this is why you don't want to come in hard anywhere near your finished piece, because you can, like I said, keep blending and blending to add a little bit more depth, but you can't take these lines away. So, or I mean, you could, I guess, if you went extremely heavy in the ink, but I was trying to go for a soft look. So I'm going to hang on to these pieces for another project, as well as the other cloud pieces that I have. And I'm going to just give my mat a little bit of a wipe down. I don't know where I've put ink, but this is the handy part about having a craft mat, is that you can protect your space a little bit. I'll move that out of the way. Okay, so my Versamats are handy because I'm going to be doing horizontal lines, and I want to make sure that between my left page and my right page, also trying to make sure that I'm in the frame for you guys. Get rid of my bits from all over. Okay, so the idea is that normally I kind of lay out, this is why I like to have 2 Versamats as well, just in case you're wondering what the need is for 2. I mean, honestly, I have 3, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I have 3 because lots of times I will have my piece sitting on my 2-page, my double Versamat situation here, and then I would have a 3rd Versamat. Sometimes if I'm doing some direct stamping, I don't want to have to be lifting and flipping over this, because as you can see on the back of this, this is where our foam is. And so when you're stamping with our stamps, you need to have that cushion, and I need to either use the carrier sheet that comes with the stamp set, or I use the back of my Versamat. So oftentimes I find that that 3rd Versamat comes in quite handy. So now the measurements on this, I'll move this pattern over here so you guys can see on one side, and remove that cat hair. I have them locked up. All my assistants are locked up currently. So this is the map, or the sketch. And of course, there's a huge amount of sketches out there on the internet for you to work with, if you like to have that as a starting point. And oftentimes I do. Lots of times I look at a sketch and I can think of which photos I'm going to use, and it just helps start the creative process. And, you know, someone else has thought up the overall design, and so what's left is your placement of paper and photos and embellishments. So this is where you can really personalize it. So this is the Cape Cod Collection, and because Close to My Heart has ink colors that coordinate with their paper collections, it makes it really easy to put together projects where the colors all match. Now, if you're someone like me, that is important for me, for sure, is having the colors match. So on this map, you can see, or this sketch, you can see that they've got it, you know, down. They've got that first piece at 1/2 inch piece at 1 inches down. So in my sample here, I'm not doing that because I've got these clouds here. So I'm going to omit that 1/2 inch piece, I think, at this point. And I was going to start with this piece. Now, they do, in our guides, they do show you, you know, exact placement of where you're, you know, so if you want your layout to end up looking similar or just like this in terms of the spacing, then they've given you these guides here. Now, I'm going to use this whole sketch and map as a bit of a guide, just generally speaking. And so I know that between this one larger piece and that next 1/2 inch piece, so this piece, I had said at the beginning, this was 2 1/4 inches tall by 12 inches wide. So this is where your Versamat comes in handy, because no matter where it is I end up deciding for this piece to start, which I believe I wanted to bring all of this down a little lower, I could still replicate the spacing, at least in terms of the design. And I'm going to bring this down. If this is sitting right here on my mat, I can easily see where that 1 inch gap is and line it up. And then we've got some Lagoon cardstock. So this is just a 1/2 inch by 12. And this one's 3/4 inch by 12. And this is the Glacier cardstock, and it's the Glacier light side. if you're not aware, our cardstock has got the true color, which is the darker side, and then there's always a lighter version. So for me to get a little bit of an ombre look here, I can just flip it over. And, you know, even when you're playing with it like this, sometimes I look and I'll be like, oh, do I want to leave white in between these? I don't know yet. So oftentimes I'm going to just roughly lay this out. Like I could measure it and glue it down, but I'm not committing just yet. I've got my big piece and I did pre-cut. This was one of the zip strips. So we've got the manufacturer strips along the top of our paper collection. So this is the Cape Cod. This is where it shows you what the feature colors are in this paper collection. And then this one got a little bit abused. It's a bit twisted, but I was thinking it might be nice to have this down here along the bottom, and then I can kind of bring in the glacier and lagoon into the photo mats. So that was my idea, and I'm going to work with the lighter in the cardstock. I think this is the darker version. I mean, this is the either or. This is where your personal preference comes in, but I think I don't want the cardstock to, I kind of want it to be there, but not be there. This is periwinkle, and I find that the lighter shade of it is just a bit softer, and I want my photos to stand out more than I want the matting on my photos to stand out. So I do like having a white border. That seems to be something that I frequently do, and so that is something where I will print out the photo, trim down the photo, and put it on our placeholders, which is a lighter weight cardstock. I could, I guess, print them out with a border, but because I print from home from my Epson PictureMate, it's just easier for me to do those layers. So this is what the left side is looking like in my head. And down here, I do like bringing it down. In this sketch, if you're just kind of following along with my thought process, or why I'm deciding this side. I mean, you never know. Sometimes you get to the other side, the partner page here, and you have to change it again because sometimes it's not working out. But just like this, I'm not sure that I like that. Now, this is me being fussy, but I'm not sure if I like this much here. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, right? Yeah, I wanted to bring this down because I know the embellishments I have, and I know the title sticker that I want to use off of the sticker sheet, and having this gap down here isn't, I don't think, going to work for me. But again, like I said, this is where we go through the process, and you will do what works for your photos. Now this one has this little piece here. This is 3x6. You can see this is cardstock, and this one that they've stamped, and this is could be cardstock as well. It looks like they've stamped stamp image in the same tone on tone. So they've done this in the same color as the cardstock. You can't make it out, probably. Maybe you can. Yeah, you can see that. And then this is just cardstock that they've sanded the edges of because we've got white core. That gives you a different look altogether too. I'm choosing, I believe, this wood grain just to kind of bring in a different color. So it's a little less monochromatic. And the sketch has you basically having this in line with that. So this is where, yeah, you're just laying it out, right? I want you just to lay it out and see how it feels. I think that the important idea around our sketches or our resource books, even our catalogs, is that there's lots of artwork in there for you to get an idea from, or maybe it sparks something that you want to create. But don't be super rigid and strict with yourself on the placement of, you know, everything. You can try it the way that the sketch is showing you, but if it works better for you to switch it up, then switch it up. I need to try and get this pattern off of my background. Here we go. So I'm going to just lay out my, again, this is the dark, this is the light. So it's just a softer version of it. And I think I'm going to start with looking at that softer version. This is where we can make sure that our left page matches our right page, that I'm putting things in the right spot. I always lay it out. I'm not too fussy about the exact, but I do like to lay it out to get an idea of what it's going to look like before I commit to gluing it down. Now again, this map has you kind of having this in line with that. And I might have it just sit a little bit above when it comes time to build it for real. But this gives me an idea of where I'm at. So I might not be, maybe we're not kissing on top, maybe we're kissing down below. I do like to see the separation. They have kind of the cardstock or the photos touching, but because I've matted them, I think I want to have a little white around it. Okay, and then this one, which is just a view from the other angle. Okay, so they have theirs like on the map. You'll see they have theirs with the gap. Let me show you. So in looking at this sketch right out of the gates, this is just, you know, there's sometimes you look at things and it's just not really working for you. So for me, I'm a bit of a fussy person, I guess, that likes to have the spacing just so. So, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do there. But again, this is the importance of doing this. And the other thing too is that I can see other layouts in my mind using this sketch and incorporating these circles they've created these circles here. I mean, it's a good way just to kind of ground it and put some weight on the bottom because you've got all this white area essentially, or white space. You've got something to draw the eye down and to kind of weight the photo. But again, I'm bringing all of this down, so I don't really need to worry so much about weighting this layout down, I don't think. Just so you can get an idea of what I'm thinking here, is I am thinking about incorporating this sticker in here and some of these embellishment bits. So that is the general idea of what's happening. I really like the way that the clouds worked out here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to continue with adhering the base pieces down thereabouts where I want them. And then I'll come back on again and we'll play a little bit with the embellishing. That might be sped up. We will wait and see. Okay, so I've just got a little bit of my foam tape on the back of that 5x7 photo, just tacking it down because I'm not sure yet if I will be adding anything in terms of layering and behind there. But at this point in my process, I just like to pull out some of the bits that I'm thinking of using, and usually like to start by just figuring out and securing a location for where my title's going to be, that sort of thing. And I was looking for my photos in that point there. They were missing. Anyway, so I keep referring back to my sketch, which I often do if I'm working from a sketch, is just to kind of get an idea of the original design and layout of embellishments that I originally was drawn to. So I'm tacking down my photos, and so the background and the stenciling and the location of my photos and all of that is what I would consider the guts of my layout. I always like to just get that tacked down, and then I work on my embellishing. Of course, the embellishing for me is the most fun. That's where I really like to play. And so I believe I probably spent about 30 minutes. This is, of course, sped up, but it took me about 30 minutes to hum and haw about the placement of things, which I am known to do. Oftentimes I'll spend quite a while contemplating where some embellishments are going to live. So I've got foam tape usually on the back of most of my sticker pieces, and that just allows me to place it down in a location without it being stuck. I'll also pull out my little stamp buddy, which is the powder filled little bag. Most of you probably have one of those, or you could use, I think it's like cornstarch or something like that. That actually gets rid of the tack on the back of a sticker. And then again, I can just kind of place that down and not always commit fully. I think I am quite happy with the location of the title, Wild and Free, just like the sea. And we've got longer banner stickers in this sticker set, and I've just cut them in half because I know I wanted to just tuck a little in behind. And so I'm just trying to figure out the placement and whether or not I want the fence on the left or the right or both. And so this is the part where you just kind of start laying things out and seeing what sticks and what you like. So I'm pulling out all the bits, and we'll commit at some point. I'm not sure about you, but I often spend a few minutes just kind of looking at my layout and seeing if I can visualize something else added or taken away. Oftentimes, adding the foam tape to the back of those phrase stickers is helpful because then I can just kind of lay them out in a couple different spots and get an idea of whether I like it. But in the end, I've decided on putting them on the lower left so that I can have a bit of a diagonal embellishment area from the left up to the right. And again, I'm just kind of deciding at this point to stick it down, commit and stick it down and move on. And so I was thinking at this point about adding a couple different stamped images, having that mull over in my mind a little bit. But in the end, nothing was really resonating with me. And oftentimes I like to have a thought with the stamped image beforehand, before I start kind of assembling, so that maybe I would have added some stamping along the lower edge as a border. And you never know, I might add something like that after. Lots of times I will add little details to a layout even up until the time it makes its way into a book. Sometimes I'm content with the layout when it's done, but then oftentimes I like to just add a little something in the end as I've thought on it or as I've looked at it for a period of time. At this point, I decided to take the foam tape off of the back of that little folder top because there's already foam tape on the back of the photo. And like I said at the beginning, I'm not necessarily a huge height person. I like to have my layout sit a little bit flat. I'm playing with the white chipboard bits that are in this kit, and I was moving them around. I kind of liked them in a few locations, but in the end, it was just feeling a little bit too overdone, and I didn't want that much of the chipboard, let's say, on the layout. So I was humming and hawing over it. In the end, I just decided to not bother using it. I think maybe I'll go into my stash and find some bits or sequins or something. This is me checking out my stamps to see if I liked the look of any of them or adding them to the layout. And again, like I said, I changed my mind on that one. Okay, friends, I think I'm done. I was going to add some stamping and some other stuff, but in the end, I like the way that it is sitting right now. So a few things of note. I'm not sure if you were laughing as we were going along, but my zip strip along the bottom here was upside down. So something looked off between the two pages and I figured that I had this one upside down. So I just used some of my undo and flip that around. The other thing I added was some of our sequins to a couple key areas here and up there and down there. And so we had seashell sequins, and we've also had just some kind of wood grainy sequins in the past. So this is old product that I will be including in the workshop kit for those of you that order it through me. Otherwise, you can go through your stash and add a little bit of bits and bobs to your layout. I am really happy with the way that this all came together. A note as to the cardstock choices. This was just leftover cardstock in the kit. And so I wanted to use up the paper that we had left over in the kit just so that we can try and use as much of our kits when we get them. And so that was the decision between the Lagoon and the periwinkle, was just that's the quantity that I had, and it worked out. So the sketch, like we said, is pattern 9. So we've gone loosely from that, but gone our own way on this one. And I look forward to maybe getting into this sketch again with a couple of kits that I've got leftovers with. And I think maybe we'll try and incorporate that circle detail. We didn't use it here, but it just goes to show you how you can take a sketch, get the general design idea, the guts of it, as I like to say, with the pattern paper and the photos, and then just kind of make it work for you. So thanks so much for watching today and tuning in with me to kind of go through the process of how I came from the start of the sketch to the end here. And hopefully you guys have a chance to play with this yourself. Quick rundown again of the 12-inch strips. This is 2 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch. And then this is a 1/2 inch. So this little piece here was 3 by 6, and we've got 5 by 7 photos, 2 3 by 4s, and a 3 by 3. And I've added the cardstock a 1/2 inch, or not 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, just to give you a little peekaboo of some color. And the white border on these photos is the true 3 by 4 and 5 by 7 and 3 by 3. So quick little recap for you if you're wanting to play at home and you want to dive into your stash. And I hope you do. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in, friends. Bye-bye.